What's up, everybody? It's Johnny Bronto here with HauntScene. It is Tuesday at 8 o'clock. You are where you should be, watching HauntScene live.
Collectively.
Joining me, she's back.
I'm back.
Melissa Lukac. Were you here last week?
Yes.
Perfect.
Back,
Okay,
yes.
I don't even remember.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So, I need to go this way a little bit. There we go. Because we got to show off the stuff behind us. And with us in the studio, we have special guest, Jenny and Tyler. You got to scoot over, Jenny, a little bit. No, there's no social distancing. We don't have enough room for that. So, welcome to the show. Hopefully everybody's doing well. We have 4 out of the 5 of us in the studio. I Lysoled everybody thoroughly before they got in the studio, which is pretty good. Yep. So, we do have an amazing special guest, somebody that I have been talking to for a couple of years on and off at like different conventions, and I'm always like, hey, you should be on my show, and he's like, yeah, I should be on your show, and then he's never been on my show before. So I want to welcome the amazing special guest that we have, and that is going to be Mr. Mark Muncy.
Oh, it's me. Wow.
Hey, Mark.
What's up, buddy?
What's up?
So
How
Mark,
is everyone this evening?
Doing well. How are you?
we haven't seen you in like weeks.
It's been a while, hasn't it? I mean, we had this like virus thing come down, and we were just doing the opening. What was it? Cocktails and Screams had just reopened, and we went to that, and then that. I think that was the last time I saw everybody. That was the last time I was out and about.
Yeah, and you drove like really far for that. It was like over a month
in,
ago.
St. Pete, Tampa Bay area.
Nice.
And
that's about 2 hours, right?
On a good day. Yeah, depends. That I-4 dead zone, but that's past Orlando. So
yeah. So we got a bunch of people in chat. We got Mr. Sam Zimmerman. We got Jackie, our favorite Jackie. We got
is that Sonnenberg?
Yep. We got Tyler's watching the show. He's going to be moderating the chat. So if you guys have any questions, they're going to go in through Tyler. The rest of us have prepared statements for Mark.
Yeah. Says he's here for awesome Mark.
Wow. Pull your mics in a little bit, guys. Just so because those mics are not as sensitive as the other ones. Sorry. Hopefully we're loud enough for you because I want to make sure they can hear all of us equally. But we have questions. Mark, the one thing we like to do on the show, other than ask everybody to share this out on your various social media, dating profiles, and all that stuff, is you're an author, you're a haunter. Give us your elevator pitch for what you do, Mark.
Oh gosh, the most interesting man in the world once told me that I was more interesting than him. I started as an author way back when. In the land of the 1980s, and right out of high school, right out of college, worked on a bunch of low budget television shows and horror movies.
Nice.
The highlight of my career was Super Force, Swamp Thing, and Thunder in Paradise with Hulk Hogan.
Oh, wow.
I did auditions on those. So I got a little taste of that. Wanted to do low budget horror. Of course, never got the opportunity. Though we did do Psycho 4, the beginning. Nice. So got to work with Anthony Perkins, which was a fantasy. Then disappeared off the face of the earth for a while because I became a dad very early and worked for the retail hell for quite some time. But I still had the bug for horror, and so we created our own. We couldn't afford to go to horror nights or Howl-O-Scream, so we created our own haunted attraction in my backyard.
Nice.
Called Hellview Cemetery. We had based it all. It originally was just the Haunted Cemetery in '96. I think we had a GeoCities website for it at the time.
Are you sure it wasn't
a little bit?
Are you sure it wasn't an Angel Fire website?
No, because we had an AOL address though for it. I remember that.
Nice.
Using our free discs, as many as we could. But for the 5 of you out there who remember that. Then we, when we were digging a grave for it, we discovered bones, and we discovered some crazy shells and stuff with it. And we were like, oh my gosh, we found a murder scene. So we called the police. The police came out, and they said, no, it's not a murder scene. It's a shell midden. and we're just glad it wasn't one of the lost cemeteries of Tampa Bay. And I was like, lost cemeteries of Tampa Bay? What are those? And sure enough, we start researching it.
Wow.
We were on a shell midden.
What is that?
What is
Yeah,
it?
because I'm thinking like badminton with shells.
All right, so you know how horror movies always take place on
Like Indian
ancient
burial
Indian
ground.
burial
Like
grounds?
poltergeist.
Guys.
Yeah.
Guys.
Redstones!
Florida, the Native Americans here, they used to make these middens. And what they were was basically their landfills. They would just eat all the shellfish, and they would eat all the fish, and they would just throw it in a big pile, and then they would cover it with dirt, a layer. Then they would pile more, cover it with dirt, layer, pile more, cover it with dirt, and they make these mounds. And they were all over the place. And they became shell middens. And what happened was, as the white settlers came in and said, "Oh, look at these hills. They're kind of in our way. Let's just plow them down and make some flat land." And that's what they did for a lot of Florida. Now, some of those had cultural significance. Some of those were holy sites. Many of them were just garbage dumps. So, it's just, that's how it was. They were attracted to the beaches and all that too. So anywhere in Florida you go and it rises more than like 20 feet near the beach or somewhere in a nearby city, that was probably a shell midden at some point.
Oh, okay.
That's
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, we got people in the chat that are like really interested in Thunder in Paradise.
intrigued.
Of all the things.
The best part about it was working with Sir Patrick McNee, who was our go-to actor for this little production company. We had no money. Budget was like $12 an episode, I think. But we had always had Sir Patrick McNee because he lived right there in Orlando. He'd retired to Florida. He was in a wheelchair most of the time, and we would wheel him in, and he would be the voice of the computer. Or for Thunder in Paradise, we pretended that, what was it? The Grand Floridian Hotel was like his house. And
Nice.
so we'd always just have him sitting in the gazebo outside drinking martinis. And he would tell Hulk Hogan what his mission was. And then Hulk Hogan would take his boat out in the Seven Seas Lagoon. And then he would be somewhere in Epcot to pretend he was in another country.
Oh,
And that was how we did budgeting back then.
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Patrick McNee, joy to work with because he was drunk all the time. It was awesome.
So is Tyler.
My favorite moment was he was a voice on Swamp Thing doing a computer, because he always did computer voices. We always max headroomed his face with like really crappy digital effects. And Dick Durock was playing Swamp Thing in the costume. And him and Patrick McNee were sitting at two separate tables. And I went over and said, "Guys, you both played the same part." And I introduced them to each other. And they were like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "The original Battlestar Galactica, you were the Cylon leader. Dick Durock was in the suit, and Patrick McNee did the voice."
Nice.
And so I got to introduce them, and they talked for like 20 minutes. I was like one of my
That's cool.
highlights back then.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love.
So then we built
Swamp Thing,
Hellview
like the old-
because we found one of the lost cemeteries was called Hillview. And of course, the Tales in the Crypt fan in me said, "Oh, it's got to be Hellview."
Right.
And we started just as a little charity haunt. For years, we had a few hundred people a weekend come through our house, and it kept getting bigger and bigger. The classic story.
Mhm.
We had to keep doing better and better. We went to HauntCon with Leonard Pickle, and when it was in Orlando, way back in 2000,
Yeah,
and that was
wild.
a game changer for us. That was when we said we're building a full haunt instead of just displays, and we built a full haunt in my backyard. And every year we had about 5,000 people a weekend go through it,
Wow.
and
That's really good.
it was all for charity. We gave every dollar to local charities or Child's Play. And then the mayor used to come every year, and he'd bring his family and everything. And then we got a new mayor, and they shut us down.
Aw.
Oh man.
2014.
Oh, we started HauntScene in 2015.
Yep.
Just missed it.
We heard you guys were coming, so we were like,
That's,
got it.
Who are these people? Yeah, nobody.
The
That's
thing
okay.
we did that set us apart, though, was we based all our stories on true myths and legends of Florida and the Florida area, and mostly the Tampa Bay area, but we would stretch for some good ones, like Robert the Doll and stuff like that. And so we would put those into the haunt
Robert's
see-
so
and-
creepy.
and we
That's
would put the
creepy. I've
stories
seen that.
up on our website. Because you're walking through a haunt, you see some guy jump out at you, you're not going to know, that's a skunk ape. You just hear something growling and you run. Our vampire was Madame Orr, an infamous bordello lady who's been all over Florida and is tied with pirates and presidents and all this crazy stuff. And so we made her a Dusk Till Dawn type vampire. And so, that was what I felt we had to do, And so when we shut down, we had all these stories we didn't know what to do with. So that's when we started road tripping, going to all these places. And then I realized there's history that people don't know. I thought everybody knew these stories and realized a lot of people didn't.
Right.
So that's when we started writing them down. And that's when the Eerie, Florida came about.
Oh, that's awesome. So we have lots of questions
We do.
about these things. So go ahead and lead off, Jenny. We're going to rotate the questions this time.
First book then that you wrote.
Oh, don't worry, we have it.
Okay.
Can you?
Where are you?
Sorry, my Superman curl is giving me grief today. So it's like, oh, you're gonna be on in front of viewers. I'm gonna curl.
What did I do? Hold on. Well, we might not get something here. Hold on 1 second, guys. I think I may have failed. Where is my thing?
Oh no!
What?
Is it that one? Uh-oh. Hold on. We're
Stand
good.
by.
Stand by. We're having technical difficulties.
Ah, there it is. Whoa, I'm so worried.
Oh my gosh! You
The
found it.
American Luchador.
I did. So is that one of your first books?
Oh wow.
That was from 2008.
2008. Yeah.
That's before
I
Tyler
wrote-
was born.
I had started writing again because a couple friends had suggested it. I hadn't written since the 80s. I wrote mostly for role-playing games and supplements back then,
Okay.
and hadn't really ever done a full anything. And I decided I wanted to be a screenwriter. I'd worked in film. I worked on Thunder in Paradise. I can write a screenplay. And I loved the old luchador movies of El Santo and Blue Demon, where they fight gangsters and monsters and other stuff like that.
Nice.
So I wrote a tribute to that. I decided those were documentaries and that the luchadors really did protect us from the monsters. And so I wanted, instead of American Ninja, I made American Luchador. And
That's awesome.
I ran everything I possibly could. It was this crazy screenplay. I sent it everywhere. And of course, like all screenplays, it got rejected by everybody except Troma. Troma loved it. Lloyd was an inspiration. He was like, put more boobs and blood in it, and then we'll talk about filming it.
Nice.
And I was like, but that was not, El Santo was very anti that. So I was like, no. And just as we started to get some traction, this movie called Nacho Libre came out and killed it.
Oh, Jack Black. Come on.
Jack Black. Yep.
But
Come on,
thankfully, this little publishing company called Dark House, not Dark Horse, they came and bought it and said they just wanted to print the script. And they wanted the first draft. They insisted on the first draft with all the errors. I'm like, really? And they said, yeah, because we publish weird stuff. And I'm like, all right. So they put it out. It sold like maybe 100 copies. And then my daughter had heart surgery. And she was big on a show called Attack of the Show. She used to be their youngest person on their little stick cam thing on G4 TV.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was having heart surgery, they were like, is there anything we can do for our biggest fan, Ninja Girl? And she said, yeah, buy my dad's book. And then suddenly they contacted me, had me do an interview on the show. And then suddenly my little publisher was like, what did you do? We had 3,000 orders for this book. We don't know what to do. We can't make that many.
So that's like a collector's item then.
Yes, it is. And they
Nice.
went out of business like shortly thereafter. So I wound up selling the rights to that to a Mexican production company, and I have no idea whatever happened.
Oh wow. So
Very
do you
cool.
have a copy?
I think I have one left somewhere.
But I mean, like, yeah,
Nice.
to hang on to that.
My
Cool.
my editor Elizabeth Abbott, I know, has a copy, and she always teases me with it. That she's gonna taunt people with it.
Come when you're like like making like you're the next like John Grisham, Stephen
There's
King,
something, yeah,
and then
bring
somebody's
that
gonna
one
like
back
dig that out. Like, here's his first book. So that's awesome. Very cool. So how many total books have you written?
Total, well, like I said, 5 under my own name, about 7 under pseudonyms because I was a ghostwriter. Back in the 80s, I did a lot of ghostwriting. So I wrote a couple of the Executioner novels from Don Pendleton, the old Mac Bolan series and stuff like that. They're all published under Don Pendleton, but we did it. And I did one of the Deathlands novels with James Axler. So, but
Very
those,
cool.
yeah. So actual books under my name, like 5, I think.
Okay.
6.
So
7?
Yeah, I think I have 6.
let's take a peek at those. So we
All right.
actually have those up, I hope. Hold on. There it is. I just didn't name something properly. Okay.
That's all right.
There we go.
Hey,
All right.
yeah, that's the
So that's
the
5.
over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So 31 Tales of Hellview was the first out the door. We printed that while we were still running the Haunt, because what happened was some of these stories, like I said, I would post them on the website, and then I would hear, hey, that sounds just like this thing on Creepypasta, or this sounds just like that thing on No Sleep on Reddit.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what the hell is No Sleep? What is Reddit? What is Creepypasta? I didn't know that in those days. And people had copy and pasted from our website and posted them on the
No.
site. So we decided to make the book so we could copyright them. And it's just filled with photos from our haunt. And these are the spooky versions of the real legends. They're kind of the Tales from the Crypt style. Then people wanted more real stuff and more, like the investigations and stuff. And that's when we came up with Tales of Terror Tampa Bay, which was our sequel. That was right after Hellview got closed. We still had, there's still spooky versions, but there's a little more truth of what they are at the beginning of each chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody's like, no, you've got to really give us the dirt. We want to know where to go, what to see. And that became Eerie, Florida from History Press. History Press approached us and said, please do this book. And we were like, heck yeah. And my lovely wife, at that point, fiance, Carrie Schultz, we traveled 5,000 miles, never left the state, and went to all these locations. And then I would go to history archives and stuff like that to research and find the real story behind them. And it was a pretty crazy book, and it hit bestseller. I got on Coast to Coast AM, and suddenly I went from the guy who ran a creepy haunted house in Florida and was on the local news to now I'm on national shows and international shows.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That is
And then our publisher was like, hey, remember how you said you had a lot more stories? and we told you we'd have to wait a few years. Could you do one like 6 months from now? And so we got to do our follow-up, Freaky Florida, which was a much bigger book, only a couple dollars more. But the plus side is with that, we also got to put in stuff we had debunked and just were really cool places to visit, as well as some stuff we got to go deeper dives on and go really crazy with. And then when that sold really, really well, it actually got them, History Press had never really done a lot of stuff outside of gift shops and special bookstores. They suddenly were in Target and Walmart and CVS with our book. And so we were their door. And that's when they said, oh, hey, we need a ghost book. So that was when Creepy Florida came out last year, which is nothing but ghosts.
Nice. So these books, you can get them on like Amazon?
Yep, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books a Million. Of course, we'd love you to go to your friendly local bookstores. They're all suffering, so please order from them if you can. If you go to eerieflorida.com, you can order direct from us, and my lovely wife and talented illustrator will draw a little something special for you in them for a small extra fee, and I'll scribble in them without an extra fee.
Do you mean
Awesome.
Follow Eerie, Florida on social media.
Yeah.
There you go. I got you, buddy.
Perfect.
So yeah, EerieFlorida.com, Facebook.com/EerieFlorida, Twitter.com/EerieFlorida, Instagram.com/EerieFlorida. It's Eerie, Florida on everything.
Everything.
Buy all the things.
All the things.
Well, that's even a first edition cover.
Everything.
Help you. That's great. I
Nice.
didn't realize that in that picture.
That's like the like when they used to do comic books that were covered in foil. You
Yeah.
know? Like that's extra rare.
It's our old black and white cover that the publisher insisted would be great. So I
Very
was like,
cool.
all right.
That's cool.
Nice. So Jenny's got a question.
So
All right.
I wanted to know what's the creepiest place you've been to.
Oh gosh, I get this one a lot, and it. Do you want like creepy when I went there? The feeling of creepiness.
I
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay,
because
because
you know,
there's
when
a
you walk
place
in somewhere
that's
and you're like, I feel it. I know this is for real.
there's a place that's terrible that is
I know
whenever
not
somebody
where
says
to go.
what is the worst place you've been, it's the Dozier School for Boys, and that
Is that
just
in Tampa?
no,
I mean,
that's in up in
Jacksonville?
the Panhandle, Mariana.
Oh, okay.
Mariana.
Write that down. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, that's
Write that down.
It's closed to the public now. It's being shut down. Basically, 110 years of state-sponsored child abuse.
Oh wow.
When they closed it
Yeah,
down,
that's bad.
Ouch.
they-
Yeah.
their Boot Hill had 31 markers, but only 24 reported deaths for the 100 years it was open.
That's
So
horrible.
they're like, who are these other 7? So they start researching it. When they get up there, they do ground x-rays and they find 55 bodies.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And they're still
That's
investigating it to this day.
Wow.
So they think they found more.
That's nuts.
But the state wants to sell the land. So, yeah, so worst
They want to
place
sell
there.
the land and do
Yeah, they
what?
want to sell it to a developer
Yeah.
so that they can get like an electric plant up there or
Oh,
something.
that sounds really great idea.
Sounds like,
Oh, yeah,
sounds
fantastic.
like a horror
Right?
movie.
If you look up the whitehouseboys.org,
Okay.
they're an organization of survivors. And you can read their tales of some of the incidents that happened there.
Wow.
If you want a late night creepy reading,
Yeah.
that'll do it for you. But so creepiest place though is the Devil's Tree in Port St. Lucie.
Okay.
That place
Oh,
gave
the
me
Devil's
From
Tree.
Port St. Lucie.
the worst vibes. It's on the East Coast. It's in Oak Hammock State Park.
Mm-hmm.
If you go there, you they made the path so it doesn't go anywhere near the tree.
Okay.
But if you follow the water and take the second path in, you come right to it. Now this tree, for those that don't know, do you guys know the story? Do you want me to
No.
tell you?
No.
About
Alright.
it once on
This
a
episode's
TV
gonna be
show.
like 5 hours long.
On a TV show called like the scariest places in America or something. I think I heard about it. It was
Okay.
yeah.
Buildings
So
on it,
there's this oak tree there. Now it ties in to a man with 3 names. Now there's one thing we learned doing all these books. If a man has 3 names in Florida, he's one of 2 things. He's either a politician or a serial killer. So this goes to Gerard John Schaefer, and he was the latter. He was a cop who used to like to do what he called twofers. And he would kidnap 2 people that were hitchhiking, flash his badge, put them in his car, and he would take them to this tree, and he would tie them to the tree, and then he would do terrible things to them,
Oh, wow.
and then he would make them pick which one died first,
Oh jeez.
and then he would continue to do terrible things to them.
Oh.
Wow.
And it was all out in the middle of nowhere at that point. Now this area is kind of built up, except for this park. Now the story goes that the tree led him to do it. But he'd been doing this a long time, so maybe the tree just kind of pushed him to that next level. He'd done some terrible things in his life. The problem is he was convicted for 2, because 2 got away, because he actually got called away on a real police case. And he had moved and was trying to do it again in a new location, and he failed. And that's where it tracked him back to this place, where they found the remnants of his last victims, able to
Wow.
tie up to him, because he kept trophies.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And so he got caught and arrested, and he got tried and convicted for those 2 murders. Now he starts pen paling Ted Bundy, and they are both arguing over who has the most kills.
Wow.
He confesses fictionally. He writes a book, and fictionally confesses to like 86 murders.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Kind of if I did it, style.
Yeah.
Like an OJ?
Yeah, like that. Exactly.
Just wanting to be
So
Ted.
sadly, none of those get tried or anything because he gets murdered in prison by his cellmate who stabs him 50 some odd times and takes out his eyes. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's creepy enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Nice.
talk about this tree. So it's this big oak tree and it drips black sap.
Yeah.
So the legends
about
were
that.
saying that if you captured the sap and made candles out of it, it would make your satanic rituals that much more powerful. And so the city's like, all right, we got to stop people from getting sap.
Trying
from
to
this
come over
tree.
there, yeah.
So we got to chop this tree down. So they send 2 guys to chop it down, and they get there, they start chopping the tree, and their chainsaw breaks. So they get the second chainsaw, being manly men, they had 2. They start chopping the chainsaw, and that one breaks. So they put the chainsaws in their truck, and they go to Home Depot to buy new chainsaws, and they're in a head-on collision and both die.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
I'm never
So
going
the
there.
legend of the tree grows.
That's crazy.
So
Wow.
a few years later, this lady gets the idea that the reason they died was because they had bits of the tree in their car, in their chainsaws, so they were cursed. So she gets this brilliant idea to go get bits of the tree and put it in her husband's car who's been cheating on her. Right?
Oh,
You're
no.
weaponizing this.
Almost a good idea, but she gets in a car accident on the way out. and that's
Oh,
how
because
we
you gotta
know what we're
transform
supposed to
them.
do.
Oh,
This is
So how do you
a
transfer?
movie.
you don't.
God.
Crazy.
So
Okay, we're
Now
not going
these
there.
legends-
We're not going there.
It's-
Let's do it.
it's crazy. So the city tries to poison it. It doesn't die. They decide to cement in the big opening where the sap is dripping and hope that would kill it. And instead, now it has a cement trunk and it cannot be destroyed. It's grown around it.
Wow.
And so when we
Wow.
went there was actually candle wax on the roots where somebody had done a ritual that morning.
Wow.
And
Creepy.
we talked to some people who had seen cloaked figures there a couple days ago, worshiping at the tree. So when we talked to the park ranger, he's just like, when you talk about this, just remind people, don't cut bits of the tree. It's not going to help you. It's going to hurt you. And second, don't light candles there because we don't want this forest to burn down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy.
Crazy.
And when we went there, we
I
had
want to know, like,
electric issues. Our cameras didn't work. We tried to do video from it, and all the audio came out weird. On every device we had, it was very unusual.
Wow. All right, I'm totally cooking.
For this, Johnny, we're not going there.
I'm going. I'm the intern. I'll go.
No.
Title, yeah, we're gonna set title the intern.
About a 3-hour
Decision, we're
drive.
not
He's
going
expendable.
there. Thank you.
So you gotta pick one of these. Why don't you do?
Yeah.
We had a few comments.
Why don't you
Comments
do
section. Ask-
this one?
How do you decide where to go next?
Oh, that's a toughie. It really depends on what rabbit hole I've kind of gone down. We're finally leaving Florida for the next book. We're
Wow.
doing Eerie, Appalachia. It was supposed to come out this year, but due to reasons beyond our control and curses beyond our
Wow.
control,
Mm.
it's coming out next year, hopefully. It's we were following. I was doing another Florida book. We were doing one on UFOs of Florida. So I'd researched a Tampa sighting from 1999 that thousands of witnesses were at. And then I was following up on a Crestview sighting, which is down near Miami, which is basically Florida's Roswell for cover up. It was obvious cover up. Hundreds of kids at a school see dozens of UFOs and teachers. And then the government comes in, interviews them all, and says, helicopter. You saw helicopters.
Wow.
Wow.
So like,
That's crazy.
we know what helicopters look like, but so we were. I was interviewing a witness of that for this upcoming book, and then he mentioned some names of people who came to interview him, and one of the names is an officer such and such Officer such and such. And then this government man whose last name, all his dad had on the note was Cold. And my heart starts racing, and I'm thinking, oh, Indrid Cold, a famous character in Mothman lore. And I'm originally from the Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky area. I'd traveled all around up there in my early years.
That's where my family's from.
I'm like, I have to follow this lead. And then that led to more Indrid Cold, which led to Mothman, which led to Flatwoods Monster, which led to all that. And I'm like, hey guys, can I do a book about all this area? And they're like, well, that's a little big. And then I showed my publisher a map of Florida and put it over those 3 states. And I was like, look, it's the same size. And they went, okay, yeah, fine, go for
Yeah,
it. So
yeah, you got this.
Wow, that's cool.
Nice.
they're like,
So-
3 bestsellers, give them a little bit of...
it's just-
That's
Very
awesome.
cool. So we've got a couple people mentioned, and this is something I've always been curious about, but I haven't been down there yet. But Robert the Doll. I'm sure people don't ask
yes.
you about that. So I think we all have like a general idea, but I'd like to have your take on that.
Okay, so the story goes that Robert, who those who don't know, we all have to ask permission. Is it okay if we talk about you, Robert?
Robert is
Okay,
okay.
Is it okay that
Is it
we
okay?
talk
I hope
about
so.
you, Robert? I think
Robert's like Gremlins. He's got rules.
he's like,
Okay.
Don't
he's like
follow
he
those.
watches our show all the time.
Yeah, if you don't follow those rules, you can have problems. So
we
But,
don't want to.
Please,
We don't want
Robert,
problems.
it's okay.
Yeah, everybody in the
so-
chat asks permission too.
yeah. Okay,
It's
good.
okay
But-
to ask Robert.
So Robert was the doll of Robert Eugene O'Neill, a young boy in Key West, and now Robert Eugene got this doll, and some people say, "Oh, is this his Bahamian servant made it for him? It's a voodoo doll and all that." No, none of that's true. It was basically the Cabbage Patch Kid of his day. It was an expensive doll. You can still company
Did he
that.
have the sailor hat? Was that-
Yes, he has the sailor hat. He has a sailor suit. He has a little lion, a little plush lion of his own. And now Robert, what happened was immediately after he got this doll, bad things started happening. His toys started breaking. The servants started freaking out because there was just weird stuff going down. So they start quitting. And his parents go to him and say, Robert, you've got to stop doing this weird stuff. And he's like, I'm not Robert. I'm going to go by Eugene now. Because Robert, the doll, he wants to go by that name, and we don't want any more confusion. And nowadays, we'd have given that kid some Ritalin, and we wouldn't have a story. But back then, they were like, okay, whatever. And so, more and more weirdness happens. Eventually, Robert, the doll, gets locked up in the attic, and they don't want anything to do with him. They keep hearing weird stuff. They finally move out, and poor Eugene watches his doll as he leaves. And then for years, the house sits empty. It's called the Artist's House now down in Key West. And it's a bed and breakfast you can stay in. You can stay in Robert's room. And that house itself is super spooky and has lots of spectral activity.
Yeah,
So
no, thank you. I'll pass on that one.
So
But
we
is Robert
wonder.
still there?
No, Robert is in the Fort East Martello
That's
Museum
what-
now.
He's in the museum in Key West. Yep.
Yeah. And then you have to follow the rules when you visit Robert. You have to be nice to Robert. You have to ask his permission whenever you talk about him or take his picture. And if you don't follow those rules, you get cursed. And if you don't believe in the curse, there used to be a wall of letters behind him. They had to digitize them after Hurricane Irma because a lot of them got wiped out. But thankfully they had scans, so they've just got them on loop now. But you can spend a day just reading the letters. People going, my favorite was, Dear Sir Robert, I'm sorry we didn't believe your curse. And I made fun of your face and called your stupid leather face. Leather is actually nice for a face, and you are quite handsome. Please remove your curse. We get the message. Please fix my eye, my Xbox, and my marriage.
Oh man.
Wow.
And I loved it. He put them in that order.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. That order.
There are a couple letters from former presidents, one wishing him a happy 100th birthday, and just,
Wow.
hey, better safe than sorry. Don't
Right.
poke them.
That's true. That's true.
Yep. And now we have our own little Robert story. We took a picture while we were there, and if you take the Ghosts and Gravestones tour down there, you can come back after dark. and they let you into the museum after hours. So you
Man.
get some alone time.
Yes.
Some alone time with Robert, and we went in and we took we went on the tour, and there were still a lot of people on that night tour, and I went to the tour guide and said, "Can I just go back in for 1 minute, take one more picture?" Because there were so many people, we wanted one for the book, and went in, took a picture, and sure enough, I forgot to ask permission, and on the way out, trip, fell, almost shattered my knee,
Wow.
and
Wow.
yeah, it was. I was like, "Sorry, Robert." And so when you read Eerie, Florida, which he's the last chapter in Eerie, we saved the best for last.
Nice.
The captions on that say "printed with permission of Robert the Doll," and we actually asked his permission to put them in the book. We had the publisher ask his permission to put them in the book. That was a fun request. Our publisher knew they were in for something special when we asked them that.
Nice.
I have a question that's on here that somebody, Michael Stanley, says Comic Book 101 show, wants to know his favorite paranormal comic.
Comic 101 show. I occasionally have been on that, so and been known to co-host it occasionally, because I'm a big nerd on top of everything else. If you can't tell from behind me,
We all are.
Yeah, that's why we're all here.
Yeah.
exactly.
Collectively.
My favorite paranormal comic, I would have to say, is probably The Goon. If you haven't read,
Wow, that's a deep cut, man. That's been a moment.
it just came back recently, and it's fantastic. It's
Nice.
basically this mob boss extortion guy and his mouthy sidekick fighting monsters in a town where the monsters run the gangs. It's a zombie priest,
that's cool.
and Cthulhu references, and Eric Powell, who writes it and draws it, is a genius. So
That's cool.
That's pretty awesome.
That is cool.
Where did and when did you start a love for spooky places?
okay, you want to talk about deep cut? I was 6 or 7. My earliest childhood memory is in a house in Ohio we lived in, and there was the stairs to the attic was in my room.
Oh,
And I
man.
remember going up to the stairs because that was my play area up there. My brother had the basement. My brother's 11 years older than me, so we were both only children. We tell each other. And I went
my children
upstairs.
are.
Exactly. I was a big surprise. But we went upstairs, and I remember walking upstairs and seeing some shadowy shape with glowing red eyes staring at me in the middle of the floor, and I still have nightmares about it to this day.
Wow.
That's
So-
terrifying.
That's really creepy.
As a guy, and then as I got older, I always was fascinated. What did I see? What did I experience? I still get goosebumps thinking about it right now.
I just
Yeah.
got goosebumps thinking
Yeah.
about something I
That's
went through
really,
when I was
really,
young.
like,
So yeah.
creepy.
Exactly. And so it became a obsession to learn about it. So my goal was to join Duke University's parapsychology department, which I didn't know had already disbanded by the time I was like 7, because I was still reading Hans Holzer books and everything back then. And then Ghostbusters comes out, and I find out parapsychology you can't get a degree in. So
You lied.
they lied. The movie lied. You mean the movie lied?
Right.
So that's where it's always been, and it's always been, instead of running from my fears, I've always tried to confront them. For a long time, I was afraid of spiders, so I bought a pet spider.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
Nope.
No,
Let's
no,
not like
Thank you,
spiders.
Tyler and I draw the line right there.
No
Nope, no
spiders.
spiders for us.
Okay, well we've got
No, thank
we've only
you.
got one in the house right now. We got a jumping spider in the house right now.
Oh,
So.
What's his name?
All right,
They're a
we
little
don't tell
tiny
Tyler.
things.
We can't go over Mark's house.
I have,
No, thank
we have
you.
our lizard Claudius and our 2 pythons, Missy
Aw.
and Pajamas, who
Aw,
take
that's
care of
cute.
any other bugs in the
That's
house.
cute.
There you
So-
go.
Okay.
Oh, snakes.
Well,
Nice. So I got a question in the chat, and this is kind of I'm gonna ask this in 2 parts. So obviously over the last couple of years, The Conjuring, the Warrens kind of come into like movies, stuff like that, and the Annabelle doll, which is originally a Raggedy
Raggedy Ann doll.
Ann doll, yep, which I had when I had Raggedy Ann and Andy doll when I was growing
I
up.
think
Thank
I
you.
have an Annabelle here, but I think she's buried at the moment. So
So what's your take on that and like the whole like room with all the stuff in it? Like, is that something that's like feasible? Some people are pessimists about that.
I actually met the Warrens a number of years ago.
That's awesome.
Nice.
And before Ed had passed away, and now
Lorraine
too.
Yeah.
And I know their is it their grandson, I believe, is still in charge of the collection, and he's still taking care of it. I remember going into the room and wondering what the Raggedy Ann doll was at the time, but I didn't ask. I didn't even know about it at the time. That's how long ago this was.
Right.
And I was more excited about one of the mirrors they had. That was the reason I was there, was to ask Ed and Lorraine about this mirror from a different event. And they were happy because it was something that wasn't famous.
Right.
And they were pleased. So yeah, the Conjuring movies, I think, they're fun entertainment. They're not the exact cases. They do try, they try to treat them with respect, which is and James Wan's amazing.
Right.
So it makes them spooky and all that. So you can't go wrong with that. But yeah, Annabelle the doll, really a Raggedy Ann doll, and creepy as heck.
Yeah.
And we have one that when my wife was first moving in, she was at her father's house collecting stuff. He was happy to get rid of her stuff, and that had been in storage. And so he was like, opens this case, and it's all her stuffed animals, and right on top's this creepy Raggedy Ann doll. And she's like,
"Oh man,
that's not mine. I've never owned one of those."
Ooh.
And her dad's like, "No, that's yours." And she's like, "No, never owned one. And let's just throw it away." And I'm like, "No."
It will be back. Haven't you seen this movie?
Yes, we got to keep this one, and we'll keep it someplace safe. And she's over in a corner somewhere right now in this house. I don't remember where. So now I'm a little nervous.
Maybe she was.
Yeah.
We did a ghost tour in downtown Orlando, Melissa and I, with Ting from American Ghost Adventures.
Oh, love Ting.
She's
awesome.
amazing. And she was actually on the show about a year ago, and it was when she was in this room in my studio. It was like heavy, like we were talking about creepy places. Like she brought something with her.
About that you felt.
So that was super creepy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of so. What else do we got here? Because I don't want to like ask all the questions.
What place affected you the most and everything else? But like, what would you say was your favorite? What was your favorite place?
Favorite place and what affected me the most. Okay.
Well, we kind of said like, what affected you the most? Yeah. That wasn't the same.
Yeah, affected me the most was actually not a paranormal place at all. It was just a place that impressed the heck out of me. Okay. And it was very, very powerful place. And highly recommend everybody take a trip there at some point. And that is the Florida National Cemetery, just north of in the Brooksville area.
Brooksville?
It was basically Florida's Arlington.
Oh, okay.
And there are 130,000 graves there.
Wow.
And more every day. Yeah. It's going to be bigger than Arlington soon.
Wow.
Because so many vets come down here for VA and to retire down here. So when they pass away, they're buried there. And it's just row after row and sea of graves. And that's not including the reliquaries. When you realize how many people are in those. Right. And those it's so powerful. And when we were there, I hate to say symbolism and things, but while we were there, a bald eagle landed on the tree above the 101st Airborne section.
Wow.
Which was like, oh my God, you couldn't have asked for a sign that said this is someplace special.
Right.
And so I highly recommend everybody go there. It backs up to what is supposedly Seminole burial grounds. But we're realizing now, that's why the wall stops where it stops. And they're expanding other directions. But historians are realizing now there's a small little cemetery called Cow Prairie Cemetery, which is right off the interstate exit there, that is bigger than they thought. And we're just starting to do x-rays on that. It was about to be sold and turned into a gas station. The old Civil War and Dade battlegrounds from the Seminole Wars. We think that's actually where the burial grounds were and that little cemetery was just put on top of it. So that means the burial grounds are actually under I-75, and nobody told anybody when they built it.
That's crazy.
That's kind of.
I went to a really huge cemetery right outside of Cincinnati, and I can't think the name of it, but it was so beautiful.
There's a couple up in that area. There is a national cemetery there too for all the guys from Wright Pat and stuff.
It's right out of Cincinnati, right out of Kentucky.
And we went to the one.
The Fort Campbell stuff is there too. So.
Yeah.
We went to Sleepy Hollow. We saw the cemetery.
So Sleepy Hollow was neat.
Right around, like in the fall, because we're doing road trips for haunts now.
You want a wonderful one like that for Florida? Bosque Bellow Cemetery on Amelia Island is one of the oldest cemeteries in the U.S.
Wow.
And it is beautiful. And it's like walking through swampy marsh, trees, and graves everywhere. They go way back to the 1500s.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's really, really cool.
And pirates. Can't go wrong with pirate graves.
No.
Pirates.
No.
So we got a question in here from Michael. And so you do like the historical side, the haunter side or whatever. Do you do any like ghost hunting type stuff?
We go with ghost hunters. We go with skunk ape hunters. We go with UFO experts. We participate as they ask us to, but we are not parapsychologists. We call ourselves parajournalists.
Because you're doing the research,
we want the story.
Yeah.
We go to record the stories of what these guys find. We were just in the May Stringer house, also near Brooksville, which is one of the most haunted houses in Florida.
I think I saw that.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's...
Did you post it? You posted it, right?
Yeah. We posted while we were taking pictures there.
Yeah.
And the Brooksville Pit is the paranormal investigation team up there. And they are doing live streams from it almost every night. And you contact them if you want to go investigate the house. And people come from all over the world to investigate this place because there's so much evidence mounts there. And the few times we've been, we've had some exciting experiences. But
which book is that in? Which book is that in that you?
The May Stringer's in Creepy, Florida.
Okay, Creepy.
Save the best. We saved that for the ghost.
So I can look that up.
Yep. So we'll take a look at that. So. That one is Creepy, Florida.
Yes.
Right? So the one at the bottom right.
Yep, with the ghost ship from the Everglades, the ghost pirate ship of the Everglades down there on the cover.
Ghost ships.
Wonderful illustration from my wife, done superimposed on one of our photos. So she does all the photography for the books too, for the most part. I do some, but she does all that. That nice. State seal on the cover of Eerie, Florida. When the publisher pitched us the cover, it was just the state seal. And we were like, no, give us 48 hours.
That's boring.
Yeah, so 48 hours later, Carrie comes up with the skunk ape, the skulls, the black triangle UFO, and of course our favorite Pinky the sea monster. Nice. And then I think there's the alligator people from Mini Lights and St. Pete, our home, on there too. So, and now people have those stickers and patch, and we're working on patches now because we've had so many requests for them.
Nice.
Cool.
Very cool. Very cool. 8:49. God, this went by super quick.
By really fast.
Yeah, for sure.
So, go ahead and ask about the last one. Yeah.
So I see you were a scare actor at HHN.
Yes,
Halloween
that's
Horror
what.
Nights.
Yeah, we used to carpool up. I had a small group of friends. We were in. What was the two? I don't remember the years exactly. It was the guy, the little eating. My daughter called it eating eye guy. It had the little gremlin pulling back the eyeball.
Igor,
before they've done the icons. I guess he was kind of their first icon.
Yeah.
Igor, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And anyway, we were in a house. I auditioned for J. Michael Roddy, who, if you guys haven't interviewed him, there's the king of horror nights. He originally created the whole thing. And he's a great haunter. And he cast me as a redneck in a house called Tombs of Terror. And I was like, all right, that's typecasting. I'm from West Virginia, Ohio. Sure, why not? And put me in overalls and all this. And I just stood by a pickup truck and yelled at people. Was great. and was fun. We had so much fun. The adrenaline behind it was great. And I said it was about 5 of us who carpooled up from St. Pete to do it every night.
Oh,
2 in the morning driving home.
Yeah.
Took a leave of absence from our day jobs. And then, like I said, it was the next year I came back, I auditioned again. He's like, all right, I got a new part for you. And I was in Frightanic. And I'm good about it. I just said, I'm going to be the engineer, ship's engineer. And I'm like, all right, awesome. And then my friend got cast as a coal man. And I was like, so you need a guy shoveling coal.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we got ready, the costume department comes up and neither of our costumes are there. And we're like, what the heck are we getting? And then they brought me out what looked like a Cracker Jack sailor outfit, but it was way too small. So I'm like, so this isn't mine.
Perfect.
Said, oh, no, you're the engineer. And they brought back out my same damn overalls from last year. And I'm still in overalls. But my buddy Dale was like, what am I going to be? I'm the coal man. I thought that would be me. And no, they brought out this black jumpsuit. And we were like, what? And then they had flames up the side. And I'm like, what are you, Elvis? And then suddenly, no, they put this black hat on him. And then they started putting these little spray painted sponges like charcoal briquettes.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh, you're a man made of coal. And then we realized very quickly that he looked like a yam casserole with the little marshmallows. So that stuck. And yeah. And then the next year I was a dad again. So I was like, well, I'm back to being I had a new girl coming in, my second. So I'm like, well, that's when we decided to build Hellview and make it bigger.
Nice. Right.
That's
cool.
awesome.
That's cool though.
It's for a reason.
Yep.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So do you get out to any of the other haunted attractions in Florida?
Thank God now I do. Yeah, now that Hellview's gone. But when Hellview was around, we would get to a couple. It was always a rush. Thankfully, Tampa Bay had a few at that time. Radley's Haunted House was really good. That guy, Cody, who actually makes the props for the Hagrid ride now. So that's how good they were. We used to recycle their stuff. He would throw out his stuff and we would grab it and use it in Hellview the next year. Like, heck yeah, what less foam we have to carve.
What'd you do with all your stuff?
It was reclaimed by the city of St. Pete when they shut us down. They brought a big dumpster and took most of it. We got to keep a lot of the props.
Okay.
They're still shared out. Our famous casket, which we still have, is probably going to wind up in the Wonder House in Bartow because they're a wonderful place they're restoring. And again, a place, a nice couple bought it, thought it was haunted, and it wasn't. But now they're making it a museum of all this weird stuff, and now they've actually brought in some ghosts.
Nice.
So,
that's the next best thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, hitchhiking ghosts.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like Florida.
So anything in the last couple of years that maybe we would know? Because, we do all the haunted attractions of Florida and beyond.
Well, we love Netherworld. We go see Ben.
We love Netherworld. Yes.
My wife and I got engaged in the sadly defunct Shallow Grave, which we love up in Central Florida. That was Joe Phillips put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yep.
And then that was what we always wanted Hellview to be, was what he did. I was like, oh, he's done it. So, and then sadly he got shut down. So his was more just zoning. They just kept changing the zoning on him. Hopefully he's got something coming back. Hellview may rise again. We're hoping once we get a new mayor, we'll try again. Get tired of sending in those event request forms every year, just getting denied. It's like $50 out the window every year, just for no reason. But the Christmas light place can put up 50,000 million lights and have snarl traffic for miles, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
So
lots of attractions are hard to start.
Yeah, it's hard to get the political backing on that. But yeah, those are my favorites in the area. What's the one? There's one down in Delray Beach. I cannot remember it for the life of me now. I want to say it's Hush or something like that. I'll have to look it up and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, check it out. Let me know.
That's a great one down there because we did a book signing at Murders on the Beach down there, which is one of my favorite bookstores. And then we did that night, and it was great.
Nice.
But that's how far you have to go because the theme parks eat it all up. So everybody's
Right.
afraid to open a haunted attraction here.
Yeah.
And I think it's right for it. I mean, Hellview, we had an awesome crowd. Of course, we were free and we took donations for charity. So that maybe that part was part of it. But I still
Yeah.
think if somebody did a cheaper alternative haunt that was still pretty impressive, they would dominate
Yeah.
anywhere.
Mhm.
So speaking of theme parks, Johnny said Helvis for HHN's 31 icon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Helvis is the icon for
Yeah.
HHN
So our
31.
buddy Michael Hale's watching. How many years did you run Hellview?
19 years. We were on our
Wow.
20th year. When
Wow.
we were halfway through
Older
building
than
it.
Tyler is.
When did it go? When did it end?
It
Uh,
is.
2015.
Nice. Got Gina
I was
watching
only
from
a
Spooky
full
Empire.
haunt. I say it was only a full haunt for like 12 years.
Sorry.
Gina.
Yeah. That's awesome though. 19 years.
It's cool.
It's literally
It's
how
fun.
old I am.
Yeah.
What's up? I said Gina's watching from Spooky Empire.
Sorry.
Oh,
So-
we love
yeah,
Spooky.
right. Yeah, we love
Hi,
Spooky.
Spooky.
That's actually where I met Mark the first time was
Yep.
at Spooky Empire.
I think I was on the writer's trek
Yep.
there. And, yeah, with
I was like,
the
this is
wonderful
like
outgoing.
right up my alley.
You want to bring Missy on for a second? I got a python coming on for a second. So
Oh,
Mm.
another
wrapped up
special
in that.
guest. Let's go.
As long as it's not a spider.
Yeah.
well, she's wrapped around my wife's
Bring
necklace.
the jumping
Yeah.
spider on and just bring the jumping spider on
Jump
instead.
spider.
Yeah, we'll bring out Spooky Boo.
Please,
That'll be
please don't. Please don't. Keep. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Keep that away. Thank you.
Hold on to Johnny. Just turning off the TV.
Here she comes. This is Missy.
Aww.
Aw,
Snack, a little danger
Hi, Missy.
noodle.
She's so cute. I love it. I love it.
Just gives you a nice hug. And
I love
adorable.
snakes. I love snakes.
She loves
Aw.
anything dark, so she's gonna crawl into my shirt here in a minute. So that's Missy. This is our bigger one. We have Pajamas, who's a tiny baby,
Oh,
and
nice.
although not so tiny anymore. And then we've got Claudius, our Savannah monitor, who is our baby Godzilla that we love dearly. So,
Cute little pet.
are you having fun, Missy?
From the HauntScene Live.
Aw.
Say hello to America.
There you go. Give him tongue
Beautiful.
clicks.
Look at that.
Boom, thumbnail.
That's cute. Clip that. Clip that.
Clip that. Clip
That's
that.
awesome.
Alright,
Very cool.
we're on. That's
There we
great.
go. She's gonna go back and it's about feeding time for Missy. So
Aw.
Okay.
She doesn't want to.
she's not letting go now. So this is fun. All right.
This is how I die.
Yep. This is my life now. All right.
Everything happens for a reason.
Awesome. Well, it's 8:58, so thank
All
you
right.
so much for being on the show. We got to do this again. I feel like we
Yes.
got to like come back with another
Yes.
material.
Part two.
Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
part,
like
part
part
two.
3. Maybe we could do this like once a year,
Yes.
once every 6 months or whatever. Because
However you want to do it.
Yeah,
nice.
thank you so much.
and then I know that I think you got a couple of the books to Jenny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
I
to
think
check those
so.
out at
And
some
then,
point.
I know my publicist is helping you guys getting some physical
Yeah.
copies too. I hope so.
Yeah,
So
yes.
once more, EerieFlorida.com, Facebook.com/EerieFlorida, EerieFlorida on Twitter, EerieFlorida on Instagram. Follow on all the things. Very
Yep.
cool.
Get more snake pictures.
I love
Uh,
that
All
stat you got there.
snakes. Only snakes. No jumping spiders.
Yeah. I won't put
Only
the
snakes.
jump.
Please no
There,
jumping
well,
spiders.
Like I said, face your fears. That's the key. So
Yeah, it's
Very cool.
Chainsaw smoke.
Nope, I can't. I draw the line at spiders. Sorry. I'll do it with chainsaws, not spiders.
okay, yeah, that's how it works sometimes. So
Yeah.
well, we will tell you all our usual what we used to say at the end of Hellview when you would come through the door and I would greet you and I was my caretaker character then, as I would send you on your way, I would say, "See you on the other side."
Aw,
So that was our
it's
that was our
creepy and
takeaway.
it's
So-
endearing and creepy at the same time.
Exactly right.
Perfect. All right, Mark, hang out on Skype for a few minutes. We
Sure.
will be back with you here in a second. But let's go ahead and wrap this up, everybody.
bye.
All right, so thank you guys for watching. Appreciate that. Say goodbye, Jenny and Tyler. Bye.
Jesus,
All right.
Tyler.
Tyler, get out. All right, so thank you guys for watching. We appreciate that. I do want to make a little announcement here. Trying to share a little bit of the love here. I want you guys to mark your calendars on Wednesday nights. We have our friend Erica, Horror Happens with Dead Girls. She does a show. And on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock, we're just huge fans of Phantasmagoria. They're
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. So you have something spooky to do at 8 o'clock 3 nights a week at least. So please follow Erica. Erica, congratulations! You just hit 14,000 likes on Facebook.
Erica.
That's awesome.
Yay.
Phantasmagoria is killing it, thousands of views. So please make sure you guys are watching this stuff. I absolutely love Sunday nights and watching Byron Simmering do the thing. They have all kinds of amazing guests. And that's going to do it for our episode here.
To watch throughout the week.
Yeah.
It's great.
They've got Destiny Beard next week. I'm super excited. So
Very cool.
She's amazing.
And next week on our show, I don't have a screenshot, but Alan Hops is going to be our guest.
Yeah, the man.
Next week. So that's going to be awesome. Now, hold on. Now I need to look at my schedule. Alan Hops is there the next one or the week
I've actually
afterwards.
got Alan Hop's prop here from
I think Scotty's the
Hellview.
week after.
Scotty
Too hotty.
Yeah, the 7th. Okay.
Sure.
Yep, and then we've got
Scotty's
we got James Gregory from All Howl, then Sky Too Hottie, and then Farside from ALZ. So we have a awesome slate. We're completely booked for July and August, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. If you're listening to this in the podcast version, thank you guys so much for downloading it. We do appreciate that, and we're gonna go ahead and roll credits. So until next time, spook easy.
Happy haunting. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Give me some treats.